we're sporting some dodgeball.
I'm Mohamed Ibrahim Ali. I'm a Cancer, and we're into dodgeball, and it just so happens to be Halloween. I don't know if you noticed, but I am dressed up as a giant sunflower. When I first got into, came to Vancouver as a young queer Egyptian, right off the plane, it was kind of woo! There's a lot of parties and a lot of bars and that's how I engaged with queer folks in the city. But that was really the only way that I managed to meet people and to sort of come into dodgeball and sort of have this sober space and space that isn't sort of surrounded or built around drinking or partying. It kind of lets you interact with people in a different way and add the clarity of the adrenaline rush of avoiding getting hit in the face with a foam ball. You can build pretty solid connections. Sports were a nightmare for me as a kid. So it's something that I was really scared of, something that I really hated, something that I dreaded. And it kind of kept me quite sedentary as a teen. So moving into sports in general as a queer person is daunting. And then moving in as a racialized queer person can also add a bunch of other complications. I am the captain, even though we don't believe in a hierarchy, of Juice Box, which was formerly known as Apocalypse. Each team name has POC in it. And we are an exclusively POC team. We meet every Tuesday and play in elementary schools across Vancouver, and it's just a really, really good time. The experience of wanting a POC only space is kind of something that only happened after I moved to Vancouver. It's something that kind of developed through being here and sort of integrating into North American and Canadian culture and sort of understanding how racialized folks kind of move through spaces and how how I felt I was being perceived. It was a space that I didn't know I needed. I was invited to join the team. And I was invited because I was a person of color and I had friends on the team that wanted me to join, and I was okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. And I didn't really immediately understand the importance of it, but through playing on the team and hanging out with these people on a regular basis, it made me realize how important those connections are. Because as much as Egypt is in some ways diverse, the base society presents itself as quite homogenous. So it's mostly Muslim, it's mostly Arab. So it was an interesting jump to go from New York, where we're trying to figure out who we are, and then going to Egypt, where I was told exactly who I am. You're a Muslim boy who should act and behave and know these things. And then to sort of escape that in some ways, to come here to Vancouver and sort of try and get rid of all that, maybe piece something together. And then while I'm doing that, also dealing with sort of the racial perceptions of my body. Yeah.
Well, racism.
Yeah, you can just call it racism. Yeah.
Let's call it
The R word. Having a POC only team sort of helps cushion some of those things that might make people a little bit nervous, or some of those things that might make people a little bit uncomfortable, and sort of help sort of like connect people too, because like Vancouver is a big city and sometimes a cold city, and sometimes you need a little push to help people make friends.